The blue-throated macaw is listed as critically endangered on the IUCN Red List, and there are between 50 and 250 left in the wild. Since the extinction of the little blue macaw in 2000, the blue-throated macaws are now the rarest species of macaws in the world. Some other species part of the Ara genus are the scarlet macaw, the red and green macaw, and the blue and gold macaw.
Blue-throated macaws live in only one location, the Barbara Azul Nature Reserve in Bolivia. Bolivia is in South America, and the Barbara Azul Reserve is in the state of Beni in Bolivia. It is northwest of Trinidad, the capital city of Bolivia. This complex landscape consists of grasslands, marshes, and forest islands. Although there are two subpopulations within the reserve, it is the last existing reserve for these blue-throated macaws. It is home to many other birds as well as some rare mammals such as the jaguars and the giant anteaters. The blue-throated macaws' nests are inside dead palm trees. It is easy to hollow out the tree trunks on these trees. All macaws and birds are endotherms and homeotherms. This means that they maintain all of their heat by their internal environment. They can release heat through their mouth, and the respiratory system can also help them release heat without losing oxygen. They can move their blood vessels closer to their bones and muscles to conserve heat, and they can move it closer to the surface of the skin to lose heat and cool off. They are warm-blooded, so their body can generate its heat through its metabolism. There are some behaviors that they do to keep cool, such as staying in the shade, and are very inactive during the hottest times of the day, and they search for their food mainly in the night.
Blue-throated macaws are consumers. They are herbivores, and unlike many other macaw species, they feed mainly on the fruit of large palm trees rather than nuts and seeds. Their predominant source of food is from the palm species, commonly called the uricuri palm tree. They also eat from the coyol palm and the moriche palm. The macaws eat the mesocarp from the ripe or nearly ripe fruit, and they have also been observed drinking liquid from immature fruit.
Blue-throated macaws have many adaptations to survive in their habitat and its climate. One physiological adaptation has to do with how they move around. Their main form of transportation is flying. They can easily fly from tree to tree and feed, and also can fly to get to places or escape danger quicker than other species that can't fly. Flying can also help them avoid predators that dwell on land. They can also fly to help cool off on very hot days. In addition to flying, they can hop between branches and trees. They can walk fairly well, and they can perch on a branch. Their beaks are in an optimal shape to get to the fruit on a palm tree and eat it. All these physiological adaptations can help the blue-throated macaws survive in their habitat.
In addition to physiological adaptations, they also have many behavioral adaptations. Blue-throated macaws stay in one general area in flocks, and they communicate through sound. For example, they can communicate danger by letting out a loud alarming sound and flying away. They are also known to communicate through quiet calls that can't be heard very well by most predators.
Although they do not have many natural predators, their cautiousness is another important behavioral adaptation that they have. To prevent nest predation, the macaws will perch outside of the nest and be aware of their surroundings. They will only enter their nesting site after they observe the area very carefully. Another example of their cautiousness that has been observed is that one of the macaws will stand guard outside the nesting site while the other is feeding their chicks.
Blue-throated macaws are monogamous, meaning that they mate with one partner for their whole life. They breed once a year if environmental conditions permit them to. The two subpopulations of blue-throated macaws mate at slightly different times. The northern subpopulation mates from August to November, and the southern subpopulation mates from November to March. First, the pair needs to find a nesting site before fertilization occurs. This usually comes in the form of a hollowed-out portion of a palm tree. They will try and find a nesting site before they can start to excavate their own nesting site. The females lay anywhere between 1 and 3 eggs, and they incubate them until they hatch, which usually takes around 26 days. The male feeds the female while she incubates her eggs. When they hatch, they are approximately 18 grams, and the newly hatched babies are fed by both male and female. They stay with their parents for a year, and their parents skip the breeding period that year. At 5 years old, a blue-throated macaw will usually be sexually mature.
In the ecosystem, they are prey to some animals and they are subject to parasites. Since they eat lots of fruits, they are also a likely seed disperser for some fruit species. Humans have also found them beneficial. The feathers from blue-throated macaws are used as decorations in many indigenous groups. Trapping for pet trade is the main reason that they are endangered. Although the export of parrots was banned in 1984, there was a lack of habitats and breeding grounds for these birds. The rarity of the species drove prices up and increased trapping and became a cycle leading to endangerment. They are illegal to own in some countries, but they are legal in the US. Another main reason for extinction is habitat destruction. The trees in their habitats were getting cut down to build fences for cattle ranches, and the lands that they mainly dwelled on were getting converted into cattle ranches.
Trapping is now illegal and is protected by the national legislation of Bolivia and Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. In 2005, Armenia started putting nesting boxes for blue-throated macaws to hatch their eggs. Many conservation organizations are taking measures to expand the natural habitat for the blue-throated macaws. When a roosting site of about 70 blue-throated macaws was found, conservationists fought to buy that land. They bought a section of their habitat, and now they doubled in size of the purchase a few years later. As of 2014, Barbara Azul Nature Reserve was about 27,000 acres.
We think that the species will not go extinct and will eventually make a comeback because of the various conservational efforts. The blue-throated macaw has been getting a lot more recognition lately. Although the species has not been growing, we think that they will eventually make a comeback because of the new laws being passed to protect them and the recognition that they have been getting. We think that the gene pool won't change that much because the reason for endangerment had nothing to do with biotic or abiotic factors for which adaptations could evolve. Their genes are optimal for surviving in their habitat and performing their niche. The main cause of extinction for these species is because of trapping and habitat destruction, both of which are done by humans.
We think that the ecosystem will not change very much if blue-throated macaws go extinct. They do not have very many natural predators. The few predators that feed on these macaws have many other sources of food, and the blue-throated macaws are not their primary food source. Also, the ecosystem is thriving with such a low number of these blue-throated macaws, and it will most likely not change very much if they go extinct.